Heavy, heavy monster sounds. London's finest sounds for the newest modern music.
The next game on the list is Rockstar's first official game, GTA London 1969 and its prequel mission 1961. Going to check that off on my list here. This is going to be a short video since it only took around 4 to 5 hours to beat, mostly because the cops keep taking me down. So let's get into it. This is GTA London 1969, released by Rockstar on April 30th, 1999 on the PC and PlayStation, and 1961 released on July 1st, 1999 as freeware. Rockstar cleaned up the major problems I had in the original game, such as how the camera transitions. Now, instead of the camera feeling as if it's being held by a 5-foot pole, it zooms out steadily when gaining speed, and the whiplash effect is less intense. The aiming and shooting feels tighter, so you can actually aim consistently and be on target. The driving also feels much more impactful with how snappy it feels when driving at a high speed, especially when going through shortcuts or circling around cops. The sounds in this game are similar to the base game, but the music choices are fantastic here. Sometimes I catch myself humming to the songs outside of the game. The radio station Blow Up Radio. The song's genre are mostly ska and reggae to upbeat jazz, like this song called Return of Django by the Upsetters on Bush Radio. The police are opportunist vultures. It feels that they are a bit faster than GTA cops and smarter too. So if you crash, they will rush you and take you down before you know it. They can also block you off more effectively by instead of having roadblocks, they will just speed up and J-turn into your lane. They got an IQ buff too. Like how I got nicked because the cop was waiting for me outside of the garage. One of the biggest ways to evade cops is using shortcuts. This is where the map design comes in. London seemed to be creative with using shortcuts in mind, since the shortcuts are plentiful and actually useful, unlike in the previous game, where many of the shortcuts are either dead end or too cumbersome to actually use. The map also has paint sprays in convenient locations, instead of being places in where it was extremely time consuming to drive to and from. The width of the roads is bigger here with 4 lanes, so you're actually able to dodge incoming cars and police cars, instead of tiny 1 or 2 lanes in GTA where you would collect a wanted star because you ran over a pedestrian. The mission structure is the same as in the previous game with the kill frenzies, vehicle missions, and story missions. The differences are minor, as such in the kill frenzies are very short, since they usually need around 100 to 1000 points. There are also a couple of story missions in each act, around 10 to 12 in 1969 and 6 for 1961, as opposed to the 17-20 in San Andreas and Vice City. The game didn't feel like a slog to go through in one session, even though it still didn't have a save function. The drive-by system was first introduced here, and the only problem it had was that aiming was a mystery, and pretty hard to line up as it took me around 4 tries to kill this guy. The most creative level by far was the football stadium mission. Rockstar really leaned into the psychopath part of the game and gave you a free rein to run over pedestrians. There are also 2 missions that is a reference to Austin Powers and James Bond. The one in London 1961, I got to drive the jug swinger and steal a potato truck from Hans' nemesis because he's trying to be in the potato business. The plan is to attach a bomb to Grandpa and let him blow up the place. I parked near the front of the place to draw at the guards. When I got to the van, Gramp flew from the back seat and went up to the first guard he saw and rang his bell at him. Nemesis got spooked and left the country. We'll be seeing him soon. Hey guys, sorry to barge in like this. While I was stealing this grabbing this footage, started reading the description and yeah. They really went all out for this expansion pack, especially the story. The story is the most engaging and funniest one by far. I picked Charles Jones because he is a reference to Charles Manson and Jim Jones. Also, his portrait looks a lot like that cult leader, John Lennon. Great big Anyways, it's 1961 and Charles is a small-timer working for the London mobs. He first had to prove himself to Harold Cartwright, one of the lackeys of the London mob, so he can start moving up the criminal empire. Harold sent Charles off to kill a race car driver called Poundage Fern. But first, take down his bodyguards. One of his bodyguards was alone when Charles drove up to him, and he ran off. He must be the Flash's cousin with the speed he took off. Charles' contact told him to collect a car that they had for this very purpose, a Tramp TR4. As I zoomed to the bodyguard, the contact let us know that we could now do a drive-by, the first in the series, but the bullets just go right through him as if he's Neo. Once the bullet made contact, Charles then went on to reenact the Valentine's Day massacre at the garage where Fern bodyguards were at. Tried to do a drive-by, killed one, and the rest scattered out into the streets. Some ran into the park where the water was a real enemy, to driving tight spaces and avoiding getting blown up by a cop car. After wiping them all out, Charles then collects a race car to kill Fern during his race. With a tight countdown, Charles catches up to Fern and drive-by missile blasts his car. Charles pretended to be Fern and stole the trophy because Harold wanted to show it off. Fern really got cucked here, all because the guy sold pills to people in the area. One tank frenzy later, Harold wants to talk.
Listen, mate, we've heard you're a boy who can do his stuff, and by hookers and by crooks, you've proved you ain't bad. Yeah, ain't bad at all, sunshine, know what I mean?
Fast forward, and it's now the end of 1969. The hippie movement is at its peak, and Charles is now proving himself once again, but this time to gain the trust of the twin mob bosses, the Crisp twins. After dropping off a scooter for them, Harold says he has a plan to take over and be the big boss in town with Charles' help.
Listen, right, we're looking for a lad who can do his stuff. I've heard you're a bit tasty, no messing around or you get a slap. Remember, I'm the monkey and you're the cheese grater, so no messing around.
The Crisp twins now task Charles to talk to Keith. He directed Charles to find Chalky's car and have a word with him. Charles collected the car and now has to bitch slap Chalky and make him talk about where the drug is. He squealed and said it was in a dumpster in some random neighborhood. And after collecting the drug, Charles then killed Chalky and blew up the bar he usually hung out, making sure there was no loose ends.
Nice one, UT.
The Crisp twins now want Howard and a new contact, Jack Parkinson, an upstart crime lord, to work together and plan to escort a corrupt politician to a Crisp twins hideout without getting noticed. The plan failed as the paparazzis took notice, and now Charles has to blow them all up one by one. Somehow nobody noticed, so Jack then calls Charles to his office and let him know of a plan he was working on.
Just a little bit pleased with yourself, ain't ya? And rightly so, rightly so. You're on the way to being a big face in this filthy cesspit. You done me a few favours, so I'm going to do you a very big favour. You and me now, and the Crisp twins are getting on a bit. In a few years, I'll be taking over the whole bread basket. And if you got that special something, you can too. Now stop loafing around and get to work.
Jack wants to work with the Crisp twins for a while, to lure them in a sense of security and then do a hostile takeover, with Charles' help to lead the mob themselves. First things first, talk to an English royal guard and beat him to submission. Take him to a garage for interrogation and find out where he hid his car because he owes debt to the twins. Once the car was collected, Jack tells Charles to take it to the Queen's castle and use it to blow up a tower. A little domestic terrorism never hurt anybody. The explosion was just a distraction to pick up the debt. After taking the debt, Charles just rode around the block and deposited it at the warehouse. Charles then takes on undercover work for Interpol, as he steals the car of an undercover agent named Endeavor Chambers for fooling around with Jack's girls. Charles jumps into the Shagmobile once again.
Oh, behave.
This time, Han's nemesis has an ICBM, and the world is doomed unless it's back in good hands. Once in the ICBM truck, Nemesis gleefully said that the bomb is rigged to explode in exactly 75 seconds. and is going to use him to deliver the bomb in his garage. Now Charles has to fight his way back. He must now find the 2 cars that contain the ICBM deactivation codes. After Grand Theft Auto both cars, Charles rushes back to the ICBM to just barely put in the codes to deactivate the bomb. After saving the world, Charles calms down by rampaging across the city. The Crisp twins calls him to meet them in an alleyway.
All right, my boy. Pretty little thing, ain't you? And we want to keep you like that. Things have been getting out of hand, and we need you to mend a few broken pipes, fix a few ungrateful little gits, or Archie will lose his temper, and nobody will be happy.
His voice molested my eardrums with every wet lick of his tongue.
Thanks you for doing things for me, chap.
Once things cool down, Charles is now tasked to kill all football players in the stadium, especially the goalkeeper. After the goalkeeper scattered, Charles then kills him by Walter Whiting him.
Nice one, my beauty!
I am not in danger, Skylar. I am the fucking danger. Alright, some bloke opens his door and gets fucking walloped, and you think that of me?
Using a gold-encrusted tank to just obliterate some of the Lenny Smith's gang to keep them in line, to even reenacting the Italian Job with the mission to collect minivans for a heist, and test drive an armored and souped-up minivan for speed and handling. Albert Crisp believes that Harold is stealing supplies from him. Harold has now signed his fate, as Charles is almost reaching the top of the criminal ladder. And he isn't gonna let Harold ruin it all for him. Charles first threatens one of his high-ranking members on his whereabouts, and then gets told he is underground. He was told that the twins are coming after him. Albert Crisp sent the order to kill him because he talked too much. After killing one of the drug dealers, Albert got a tip that he is trying to escape London in the trunk of his friend's car. Charles steals the car with Harold in his possession, escapes from the cop, and then steps out of the vehicle with Harold trapped in the trunk and Swiss cheese the minivan, causing it to blow up. Collect Harold's car because the twins suspect that he has a stash of amphetamines, to only be disappointed because he never had any anyways. Harold only got killed because he was suspected. He never stole from them. You work with Jack on killing the twins for being irrational.
God and Bennett, that was some firework. Look, there must have been some mistake, Flower. Well, look, just so you don't come at us with a bleeding A-bomb next time, we're getting out of here. Arch is off to Devon, and I'm leaving the country. Heading for Thailand, actually. Very posh.
With the Crisp twins out of power, the game comes to a close. GTA London is a very fun time since most of the bugs and minor annoyances are fixed. I enjoyed the story with moving up the criminal empire and just how the game felt snappier and fun. The police, while more aggressive, was a fun enemy, and going through shortcuts where they couldn't follow and running into the paint spray then driving away felt very badass. The music was just plain addicting and became an earworm for a week. The missions were just way more memorable, especially the Golden Tank and the James Bond missions. I'm also kinda glad I'm taking a break from 2D gameplay to now go to the N64 with Monster Truck Madness 64. Finally, some cutting edge graphics.